We do got to talk about last week's. Like, we really have to talk about this. So, I think I'm going to start with the Lions and 49ers because there's not really much I have to say about it. I kind of went in with the mindset I really didn't care what team won. In some ways, yes, I would like to have seen the Lions win because they've never been to a Super Bowl. It could have been good for them. And to see them in the Super Bowl, to see them have a chance at getting the Lombardi Trophy, even though I don't think they could have beat the Ravens or the Chiefs for that matter. I think they could have beat the Ravens, possibly. But it just didn't happen, and it's okay. It's okay. It really is. 49ers, I'm glad they made it right. They're a good team, and that's why they're there. And I am a Dan Campbell fan because he takes risk that a lot of coaches don't take. So, with that being said, his risk is what got him to this position in the NFC Championship game. But it's also what's cost them the loss. And I don't want to harp on him too much because I do think he's a good coach. He's got that team in a position. They find him as a good leader and they'll follow him. And they're playing hard for him. And with that mentality, they're going to be able to repeat this. Maybe not be a championship every year, but they're going to be able to be a threat to other teams every season. But the guy needs to know when to draw the line in the sand. It is unbelievable that in late game, you're down, you're going for it on fourth down, in a championship game against really great teams where it's one and done. You lose, you're out. It's not like the regular season. You have to kind of accept the 3 points. Accept any points you can kind of put on the board. It's an early game, fourth down, go for it. If you don't make it, you have a lot of game to make up for it. They got lucky when they didn't get the first fourth down conversion because the 49ers missed their field goal, so it kind of evened out. But when he's doing it late game, if he would have just accepted the fact that they could have got a field goal, they could have easily won that game in another universe, right? They could have tied that game, gone into overtime, and who knows what would have happened. So they should have done that, and they didn't, and they went for it. And I don't want to bash them too hard, like I said, because Dan Campbell and that riskiness is what got them to this position in the championship, but it's also what cost them the loss, and he needs to know when to accept the 3 points. Also, the Lions did play great, and they've come a long way. But apparently, you can't seem to take the Lions' fourth quarter, third quarter, and their entire second half crumble out of them. You just can't do it. It's like you can take the farm out of the boy. You can take the boy away from the farm, but you can't take the farmer away out of the boy. That's how it is with the Lions. No matter how good they are, they're still going to have a second half crumble. And that part is kind of funny. Okay, 49ers did play decent. They had a great comeback. The Lions they could have played a lot better. And Jared Goff does play well for the Lions, but they have a great running game that they didn't count on as much as I thought they should have. And again, I think the biggest crumble was just drawing the line in the sand, accepting the 3 points. We could have gone into overtime, and who knows what could have happened. It just gives you a little bit more buffer to have a chance of winning. That's all it is. With that being said, now we go over to the AFC. Okay? And I'm going to spark a lot of people when I say this. Lamar Jackson was more or less the entire sole reason that the Ravens lost. Hard pill to swallow. You're mad going down in the comments already. I can see it. And I have my reasonings to back it. Last year, the Ravens got a new offensive coordinator. The whole idea was to let Lamar be able to call more of his own plays. Okay. Keep that in mind. Go into this year, he had a really, I shouldn't say really bad year. But he didn't do great. Like, he's definitely not a top 20 quarterback, okay? Like, he statistically is not even in the top 10. But he's got MVP, and people are already saying that he's a lock for the Hall of Fame, but it's a whole nother story. He's not, right? He's actually really not a great quarterback statistically. He's just not. Okay, get into the playoffs. He crumbles. We know this. Think about it. The reason it was his fault is because, one, they did not win the turnover battle. Zay Flowers had 1 turnover. And if you watch closely, the ball did get punched out, and maybe that would be a little bit of a lesson for a lot of players, not just Ravens, to not reach that ball out and risk it. Maybe there's times you can do that and get away with it, but a lot of times you might not be able to. And that was just one of those times. The defense for the Chiefs played well, and they were able to knock that ball out. So that was not good. The other thing, though, was that with the new offensive coordinator, giving Lamar more reins, letting him play how he wants, and during a play, a quarterback always can run whenever they want. And I see all these people in comment sections going, well, Lamar wasn't allowed to run. It was the coaching. It was this. It was that. Lamar could have ran at any given time that he wanted and chose not to. He chose to stay in the pocket and try to throw it. He had 2 costly turnovers. That is completely on him. He has one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in the NFL right now. I don't know any other offensive line that can hold and protect their quarterback for 8 seconds plus. When I watch the Ravens snap the ball and I count how long it is before Lamar throws the ball, it actually feels like minutes. And there's no other team that can get away with that. And I see so many people bash the offensive line. Really? Name one other team that can hold against any other defensive line for that long. Nobody can. So his offensive line is actually superior. The defense actually did do a good job. The problem was the Chiefs were able to just keep the ball in their possession for long periods of times. And even though that the Ravens didn't cause turnovers, they were forcing 3 and outs. The Chiefs actually punted the ball away more than the Ravens. And when you're throwing turnovers and you're causing the fumbles that Lamar was doing, that means that the defense has to come back out on the field sooner than if they would have took their time to get down the field and got a touchdown. Meaning that defense is tired. They're gassed. They can only be a stone wall for so long. That's for anybody. You only have so much in the tank. And the more times they're turning the ball over, the defense is going to get tired. And really, the defense didn't allow the Chiefs to score a whole lot of points. They really didn't. And it was all on Lamar and the offense that Lamar was not running the ball. If his offensive coordinator was giving him more reins to say, hey, check 2, if you see something different, you're allowed to call a different play on the field. He's got $250 million guaranteed. He could burn down the stadium and they're still going to have to pay them, and they're going to still keep him around. So if he goes up to the line and goes, I don't like what I'm seeing here, we're going to have to change the play up. Check 2, razor, whatever. He can do that. They're not going to yell at him. And if they do, it just doesn't matter. He's still getting $250 million. If the play breaks down, he's allowed to run. Who's going to stop him? Nobody's in the mic. Just go. It was all Lamar's fault that they lost, and he had a 53% completion rating. And people will just want to sit here and say it's this guy or that guy. It's the coaching. It was the play calling. It's the refs. It's this. It's that. He caused 2 turnovers on himself. He had a 53% completion rating. He takes longer than anybody else in the league to throw the ball, which means his offensive line, they're getting gassed when he is not pushing the ball down the field and not causing turnovers. They still had to punt it, which means the defense was on the field for a very long time just in that without actually seeing it.